Hey everyone, my name is Alden.
Drew.
And welcome back to Super Meat Boy. This is episode 4. Today we're going to go ahead and hang out in these little warp zones.
So this one right here is actually the very first character warp zone. You'll notice it was slightly red instead of the normal blackish purple. The character warp zones will allow you to play as one of the unlockable characters. And if you manage to complete the character warp zone, you'll unlock that character. So the very first one we have here is Commander Video. He is from the Bit Trip Runner, and I believe also Bit Trip Void games.
Yeah, the Bit Trip Runner and Bit Trip Void, those were made by Gaijin Games and published by Axis Games as early as September 14th, 2010.
Yes, the predecessor to Bit Trip Runner was actually Bit Trip Beat. All the Bit Trip games feature chiptunes from artists like Null Sleep and Anamanaguchi. They're rhythm games. The first one, Bit Trip Beat, did not have a protagonist. There were just various things on the screen, various prompts, and then various effects would happen when you hit the corresponding controls and everything. Bit Trip Runner introduced Commander Video, and he had this sort of movement to go along with the music. Your movements would be very angular, like you saw in the video. So in the game, Commander Video has this his specific character quirk or ability, I would say, is that when you hold down the jump button, you float in the air for about a second before you start falling to gravity again. And here we have another different style of a warp zone. This one is more themed after Game Boy, the old Game Boy games. That is one thing that I really like about the warp zones in this, is a lot of them are after different old school platforms. Like, there's not just this static warp zone skin that they throw on everything. Some of the warp zones are different, so that's something I really appreciate.
And there's multiples between each thing. Like, I noticed that the first warp zone was just an 8-bit like Nintendo style game that was done on, like, if you look at the border in that, it was like a tube television. Here we got the Game Boy in the beginning. But then another one that also had the tube style television had an opening that was very much the original Metroid in style. Like this one, the opening looked like Super Wario Land.
Yeah, definitely. So I like each of the little title graphics. They all harken back to different old school games. Like the amount of old school love that these guys have is awesome.
Yeah.
Oh no! She's a frog! What even is that little derpy guy? He's so cool. Oh, I love that guy. One other thing I wanted to talk about while we're on the warp zones and the unlockable characters and everything. So Commander Video is from the Bit Trip series. And
okay, here's that real quick. Here's that Metroid opening. Sorry, I jumped a little ahead of myself.
Yeah, no, we saw that in the last episode too. This is my second time trying this warp zone. But yeah, the Bit Trip series is another indie game that has absolutely no affiliation with Team Meat or anyone on the team. They have absolutely no obligation to include the Commander Video in the game, and yet they do it anyways because the sense of camaraderie amongst indie developers. Just to sort of give a shout out to the Bit Trip guys. There's some other characters in the game that are up from other indie games, and it's just really cool that the developers for Super Meat Boy, the Team Meat, would go out of their way and include these characters in the game to sort of, boost the other game's popularity.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you said. There's a couple of them that don't really need it, but like, and I would even say Bit Trip Runner. I mean, that stands up on its own. I've seen plenty of publicity for that on Steam, but it's just nice because it doesn't hurt them any,
Yeah. Even though, like, technically you could see Bit Trip Runner as a competitor, indie, Steam, game, whatever, parallels can be drawn, they don't really treat them like a competitor. It's more like a,
hey, your game is cool.
Yeah, it's like there's a sense of camaraderie amongst the indie gaming community, and like I really think that the game industry is one of the few places where you really get that sense of community, and like the people, everyone who loves making games, they're like-minded people, and you want to create this community of people who share the same ideas as you, and when it comes right down to it, you all love making games, you all love playing games, and you want to make the best games that you can, and you want to entertain people, and you want to make people happy. Like, that's why you do what you do, and you can't do that by yourself, or even like any lone team of people couldn't do it by themselves. You can't do it without building that community and working together.
Yeah,
and the fact that they realize that, and they do that, is that, to me, that is just like, hats off to you guys at Team Meat.
Yeah. I love this intro here.
This is a little very Castlevania-esque intro.
Not even just very Castlevania-esque. This is the opening to Castlevania the original.
Well, yeah.
Now we arrive in the hospital where he's Dr. Fetus, so of course he works in the hospital.
Cool. Quiet.
Yes. I love it. It's just like, I don't know if did we mention that already? The character select.
So the couple things about the character select. One, as I'm sure anybody who's anybody can recognize, that was totally an homage to the character select from Super Mario Bros. 2, also known as Doki Doki Panic.
Doki Panic.
Or argue if you want about whether or not that's a real Mario game. A, it's fun as poop, and B, they gave us Shy Guys, so I'm not complaining.
But the one thing I really like about that character select screen is you actually don't see it until you have other characters. I mean, like any game that has a character select screen, even if it's not or it's not originally like you don't have all the characters unlocked by default, they'll go and display that character select screen. Heck, even in Binding of Isaac, McMillan's second game there, you have the character select screen with 2 characters or 3 characters that you can't get yet. You have to start with Isaac. The one thing that I really like about this, and it's just a small thing, but it makes a bit of a difference, is that originally, when you start playing through, it just dumps you into the levels, because that adds to this, sense of you have to get through this speedily. But then, later, once you get, Bit Trip Runner, once you get the other characters that we're gonna get,
yes.
Once you get, the other characters that are in the game, you can then cycle through them in this character select screen.
Yeah. So it really just it's just one of those little things that is just a great little UI usability thing. The other thing is I've done lost my thought.
Oh no.
Well, moving right along. This is an example of the replays if you saw, there were several Meat Boys running through the level at once. Whenever you finish a level, they play every single run that you had, every death. It gets played over top of each other, so you can see them all overlaid on top of each other at once. That is just one really cool little thing that they do. That when you die like 20, 30 times in a level, it's kind of disheartening, and you finally win. It's just really awesome to see 30 Meat Boys running around the level and just splatting and everything.
Try and guess which one makes it to the end at the very beginning.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to tell which one is the last one from the very beginning, and invariably there'll be like 2 or 3 that make it really close to the end, and you gotta try and figure out which one's gonna make it.
Yeah. So here we have this isn't the introduction. They've been here for a level already, but we have a couple of the first instances of fans, and the mechanic behind this is that they blow air. And the longer that you're under the influence of a fan, the farther or the higher up you'll go, or the farther left, or whichever direction they're blowing. As well as, if you'll notice that a couple of the deaths here, because like that one right there, Drew actually touched the fan. So the fan blades are dangerous. So not only are you getting blown in a direction opposite to where you might be trying to go, but you also have to keep control of Meat Boy during that time. So it helps you both beat the level, and also sort of hinders you in that you really have to be aware. So there's that.
Yeah, there's this balancing act, because like Alden was saying, the closer you can get to a fan, the further they will blow you in the direction that you're going. So there's this little balancing act of how close you can get to it before it kills you, if you need to really get a lot of height going. This level introduces these little blobby guys. They basically just act like the sparks in Super Mario, when they just kind of circle around whatever platform they're on, and they will just turn at the first instance that they're able to. This has been happening throughout the entire game, but I haven't really touched on it yet. But one thing that this game does is all of the difficulty scaling is done by placing new hazards and new things you can interact with in the level. They don't ever give Meat Boy any extra powers. You can unlock extra characters, and the extra characters have different abilities, but you're always swapping the properties out for one another. So there's only ever one ability that you need to remember that you have access to at any given time. It's not like you're collecting power-ups or different powers and those kinds of things. You don't have to try and figure out like which one of my 17 abilities do I need to use to get through this door. You run, you jump, and you can move faster. Like, those are the abilities that Meat Boy has. I'm not sure if I didn't actually forgot to mention, but Super Meat Boy's ability is that when you hold down the right trigger, you run faster. You can actually let go of the right trigger to move a little bit slower. I'm not gonna lie, I played through this entire game with the right trigger held down constantly. So here we have another character warp zone. This character is Jill from the game Mighty Jill Off. Developed by Anti-Pixelant Games.
Yep, this is a pretty cool 2D platformer there. Basically, the premise behind it is she can jump, and then she can slow her descent by repeatedly tapping the action button, and that's exactly what what her ability is in this is. So, they do a good job of it's not like Pikmin in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. In that, Pikmin's not,
Olimar.
Olimar's not supposed to be fighting, but for some reason now he's throwing Pikmin and it's doing damage and stuff like that. It sort of just doesn't fit. Here, it's a platformer, and the character's platforming, so they're platforming in their own style, but I appreciate that they made a point to tie the characters into the game that they're supposed to be in.
Yes, they really do feel like they're plucked right out of their original source game, and that is just a little attention to detail that I think, you know, again, further props to Team Meat on that one.
Yeah.
And on that note, looks like we're out of time for today. We'll see you guys next time for more of this Jill Warp Zone.
Catch you later.